Hi, before you get into this video, I want to let you guys know that I will be making a second part to this video, so stay tuned. For now, enjoy! I'm watching here. Don't mind the sudden. I'm just chilling right now. I'm really just relaxing right now. But I wanted to come on because I saw this interesting interview with Iyanla Vincent and Ebony K. Williams speaking on modern women and femininity, and I wanted to share my thoughts around that because I feel as though this conversation has been going on for like centuries, you know? First of all, I wanted to come at it from an angle of a question just to get you guys thinking and get your minds just, working a little bit. And it was questions that I came up with after I watched the entire interview. Well, first, I wanted to read you what I wrote on Twitter because the questions were dominantly on Twitter. But when I first saw it, this is what I said. She didn't really say this. It's not quoted. It's just my summation of what I felt her message was based on one of the clips that I saw first. In the clip, Iyanla asked Ebony whether or not she'd date a bus driver, and Ebony says that she will only date a bus driver if he owned the company, more power to her.
But I do want you to speak, Iyanla, to how women need to, position ourselves so that we can be in our divinity, so we can have our crowns right, how we can create and not build. When some of us, quite frankly, feel that the men that are available to us, and I'm talking about across the color spectrum, across the age spectrum, trust me, I've done them all, they are not positioned to protect nor provide because of some of the statistics we just talked about. They're not earning the incomes. They're not having the resources, and some of them are not even showing up in the leadership.
Would you date a bus driver? Would you date
if he owns the bus? If he owns it. If he owns the bus.
See, that's a problem. That's a problem. That's a problem. Okay. Because the standards and requisites, and I'm not talking about him laying on his sofa playing video games all day. I'm not talking about that. But the standards and the criteria that we use to measure men is off for who we are as women and who they are in this society. I would date a bus driver if he loved driving the bus, if he was a man of integrity, if he was good to his mama, if he treated me well. I would date a bus.
Either one of those options, from my purview, is not really horrible. Whether or not you date a guy that just drives a bus or you date a guy that owns a bus company, I don't think you're losing at all. I don't really see either one of those job opportunities or job options as being a horrible thing. Bottom line is the dude is working. Whether or not he's a boss of the company or he's an employee of the company, the dude is working. Not everyone is meant to be an entrepreneur and not everyone is meant to be an employee. So I wouldn't even shame either one of those positions, but basically they both are saying this. I kind of wrapped it up into one sentence where I said, Iyanla said, be with a man who's satisfied with a low-level position and treats you right. Ebony said, be with a man who has a high-level position and treats you right. Iyanla and Ebony are having a convoluted conversation that compares women to center men. Patriarchy is working. Now you're pitting modern women and traditional women against each other. I don't see how that's helping out any one of us on either side. We are still centering men as a form of our identity. And I would love for us to not do that continuously because I think we have gotten so far from pleasing men, We are in a modern world. Now, whether or not you want to perform as a traditional woman in a modern world, I feel like you should have that option. And if you want to perform as a modern woman, I feel like you should have that option too. I don't see either one of these roles as modern or traditional women as a negative role. I feel like it starts becoming a negative role when men are technically always speaking against modern women because a modern woman's identity does not center them solely and their needs and what they want. It doesn't center them. So when men speak against modern women, you have certain women questioning whether or not they want to perform as a modern woman in a modern world. That's why I see these arguments happening. It's because of the disapproval of men. So after that first tweet, I tweeted again and I said, I want to ask Iyanla and Ebony if they believe a traditional or modern feminine or masculine woman can stand alone without being attached or in relationship to a man. And I also asked, do women or womanhood need to be spoken about only when it comes to being partnered with a man? And I would love for you guys to answer that question. I genuinely want to know the answer to that. Is womanhood only important when it's tethered to a man? Can women and womanhood stand alone on itself? Or is it always going to be in proximity to a man? And is womanhood only important to speak on when it comes to whether you want to date a man, get partnered with a man, get married to a man? Is it always going to be, this is what a woman needs to be, this is who a woman is, in order for her to be in proximity to a man? Like, I genuinely want them to answer that question, because I'm over here like, I think we could stand outside of that. I think we could be women without being attached to a man, or we could completely erase the idea of how men saw women, because technically speaking, traditional women is a definition that was, proposed to by men because of the patriarchy and the simple fact that women didn't have a lot of rights back then. So what the fuck are we doing here? So this was the last question that I asked on Twitter. I asked, can Iyanla and Ebony define what modern woman and traditional woman means? Also, are modern women only masculine and not feminine? Are traditional women only feminine and not masculine? This is why I say it's convoluted, because I feel like they're just bunching a whole bunch of terminologies together to try to create this idea of what womanhood is all about, and bunching modern women with masculinity and connoting masculinity as something negative is ridiculous to me. It's just fucking stupid, because I feel as though the identity of a modern woman and a traditional woman can come in the package of masculine and feminine. These energies, or the way a person generally is, whether it's masculine or feminine, is not one note. Depending on situations, I could bring out more femininity, and certain situations I could bring out more masculinity. I'm not a one-note human being, and women, being that we're all human, we're not one note either. Even when it comes down to certain aspects of womanhood, I feel as though sometimes we are modern and sometimes we're very traditional, depending on what role we choose to play and flex within. I would have hoped for very intellectual women, they'd understand that womanhood is not a monolith, right? We say Blackness is not a monolith a lot. Womanhood is also not a monolith. Or generally speaking, being a human is not a monolith. We are able to flex between different energies, masculine or feminine. And if you read the list of masculine energy and you read the list of feminine energy, you'll be able to see that we naturally flex between each and one of these energies, depending on the situation that we're in, depending on who we're around, whether or not we're around men or women or children or strangers or associates, etc., etc. We flex between these energies naturally. And I also know that it's really problematic when you start grouping one energy as it being a hyper positive energy and one energy as if it's a hyper negative energy. It's better for us to kind of see it as a balance into both energies, as women and as men and as children and as etc., etc., etc. Like, we need to understand that we harbor both of these energies. But I don't want to go into like a full-on lecture about masculine and feminine energy. I'll put some links up for everyone to do their own research. Teach yourself some shit and not just take other people's word for it, and learn for yourself and then adopt it into your own existence. Don't allow other people to tell you who you need to be in order to serve whoever, even if it's to serve them. It's kind of ridiculous to me. But yeah, I just wanted to just touch on that, because I feel like sometimes we need to really critically think and doubly ask questions, and not just take these two human beings that are considered public figures and take them as experts of life, because they're just not. They're experts of their own experience. But my main point still stands, which is there's nothing wrong with being a modern woman, and there's nothing wrong with being a traditional woman. There is nothing wrong with being a woman at all. And women, especially heterosexual women, need to stop batten against one another in order to be in proximity to men. That conversation that Inyala and Ebony had, whereas they were batting against one another, but Inyala was generally speaking on how modern women need to be a little bit more feminine than masculine in order to find a mate. At least that's what I saw on an interview. I don't know if that's her entire goal, but yeah. Or maybe Inyala is more coming from a space of holding a safe space or holding room for men, so to speak, and having a little bit more grace for the male experience in this society. She's probably even just focusing on Black men, to be honest, in a society that is kind of built for men and more so beneficial to men. Us women, especially Black women, are not the ones really standing in the way of, you know, the growth and healing of a Black man. If anything, maybe the patriarchy just doesn't work for them either. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, who am I? Who am I, right? Who am I? I would love for I would love for a lot of Black women and Black men to really realize that white supremacist patriarchy just does not benefit either one of us, and us fighting against each other to be in proximity to it or what it gains us is not really working. So white supremacist, racist, patriarchal ideology is one that has ran a lot of its course within our society, and maybe it's just not working for us anymore, and we're internalizing it and combusting, and maybe that's a personal responsibility on our part. So maybe if we realize that that's what we need to unlearn and undo in order to live a more, you know, beneficial life for ourselves and our race, you know, if it's race centered, right? Maybe we need to learn that we need to undo a lot of these white supremacist patriarchal ideologies, and maybe that will help us not fight each other. I don't know. Maybe I'm just putting suggestions in the box like everyone else is doing. So yeah. Well, I mean, thanks for giving me your time and your ear, and I will check you guys later. Bye.